Welcome everybody to Realberg Experience, podcast for creative individuals from all walks of life. We talking rap stars, politicians, photographers, you name it. Maintain and entertain, I bet the show gon' pay. So go and take a seat and let people get to meet the interesting individual that you will be. Let's go. Welcome everybody to the Realberg Experience, the podcast for creative individuals from all walks of life. I am your host, DP, and today we welcome a special guest. He is none other than 10-year commissioner?
12, right?
12-year commissioner?
11 and a half, really.
I mean, known around town mostly for his only nightclub. Once upon a time, we had a bunch of clubs, but Rick's is the only one that still remains.
Yeah, I'm the oldest barkeep in town.
I love Rick's, man.
Did you know that?
I love
I'm
Rick's.
the oldest barkeep in the US.
Everything else has disappeared. You still have the pizzeria, you still have the tree bar, everything
Yeah,
is
Dirty
still
Harry's, we got the dollar store, we got everything.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
You know?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Mark Rossi. How you doing today,
How
Mark?
you, DP? I'm glad to be here.
Damn, it's a pleasure to be in your presence for sure.
Pleasure to be in your presence.
You make me feel good.
I feel good too.
This guy's cool. So, Mark, how are things for you right now?
Well, things are going pretty good. I'm in the middle of an election for running for the mayor of the city of Key West. I believe we're having fun and we're doing a good job. I got a great crew.
Yeah, things are different this year, for sure, to say the least.
With this pandemic, it's unbelievable.
How has the pandemic affected your life in general? Because I know it's not just the election that's affected, but many things that you have going on.
Well, my business has been closed more than it's been open this year, which is starting to become a serious problem. I've had to lay off a lot of my employees, unfortunately, not because I wanted to. I had no choice because there's no business. I can't afford to pay them, and ran out of the PPG money. And it's tough. It's really tough on Duval Street right now.
What are some of the suggestions you have for Duval Street?
Well, some of the suggestions I have is to try to get businesses back up and get them running. And the one thing I want to say to the residents is spend your money locally. Don't go and spend your money somewhere where it's going to be going out of town and it doesn't stay here. Spend your money in town where it goes around and around.
Are you from Key West?
No, I was born in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. My family moved to Pompano Beach, Florida, which is right next to Fort Lauderdale. I went to school in Pompano and high school in Pompano, and then I went up to Florida State. And I went to FSU for about 3.5 years, and then my father, who is a contract food caterer, we were one of the first companies to start privatization of jails in the state of Florida for food service, canteens, and now it's turned into a big business. It's not only jail food service, it's the whole jail being privatized, medical's privatized, canteens privatized. So my father got the contract here with Sheriff Freeman, who was a great sheriff at the time, and he needed someone to come down here. I was 20 years old, and came down and went to work in the county jail. That was about 1980, 81, and Key West was an incredibly different community then. And just got lucky and, like I said, had a job here and started cooking in the jails. And for a 20-year-old guy, it was a real eye-opener. I'd go in and out of the jail 3 or 4 times a day, flip flapjacks with the inmates, make some grilled cheese with the inmates. But you had to learn how to work with the trustees in the jail and also respect. Just because they're in jail doesn't mean you treated them any differently. You had to respect them because they're in there working in it. Regardless of what they did, they're still people. So I learned a lot of people skills working in the jailhouse. And one day I was walking out of the jail, and there was a real estate office across the street. And I saw this picture of Rick's, and this is like 1983. And I was only 23 years old, and I said, wow, how could somebody be selling a place right across the street from Sloppy Joe's? So I found out who had it for sale, and I went and saw the gentleman, and he was a famous artist in town named Bob Kennedy for a lot of the old timers. And Bob and I sat down at the window at Rick's, which is still there, and we hammered out a deal with the on a napkin for some money down. And at the time, I was also doing the food for the Meals on Wheels senior citizens and some of the local private schools here. So we were running Harris School, and had only been closed. Harris had only been closed probably about a year. And went in there and had the cafeteria, and it was a really good kitchen. Plus, I was doing catering. But anyhow, the short end of the story is I purchased Rick's, and it was a real dump, and started with nothing, and the ice machine didn't even work. I mean, it was so bad they just left the money in the cash register the day we took over. But went in, took it over, and started, reinvesting into the business and making it a better business, and kept treating people with respect, and made sure that Rick's is built on locals. My number one business is locals and military, and I think that's known all over town. At the time, Captain Tony was still alive, and I got to know Captain Tony really good, and I never thought about it, but today I am Captain Tony. I'm the longest running barkeep in the city of Key West. Started, like I said, in Rick's, but we moved up from Rick's and bought Alice's Alley and Dirty Harry's, and cleaned all that up and took it over, and went from there and bought where the Red Garter is today. I also had the tunnel. A lot of people will remember that. 43 bridges in the Keys, but only one tunnel. Also had Logan's Lobster House, which we turned into the Sands, and sold that right in the nick of time for the hurricane. Boy, it got pounded in that hurricane. And, then I got a take on politics in town because Key West has made me a really lucky individual to love life, and it's made me successful, and I wanted to give back to my community what I received in it. And I thought what a better way to do it than with public service. And a lot of people don't understand that when I took over as a city commissioner, I took over Marilee McCoy's seat, who was a very popular commissioner at the time, who passed away of cancer. And Marilee was a very good friend of mine. I actually bought her mother's home. I live in it today. Been living in that house for over 27 years. Her daughter is Mimi McCoy. Her husband, Sonny McCoy. So there's a heck of a legacy there on Hilton Haven. And then I filled out her term, and it was time to go for election. And I ran against a guy named George Halloran, which was a very tough election. But I won that election. And then was in office, and after that, I had to run against a guy named Todd German, who's hometown packed. And Todd and I ran against each other. I won that election. And all through this time, I've never taken a paycheck. I never took any of the city services or insurances or anything. And people say, well, what did you do? Where did the money go? What I believed in was to donate it back to all the residents of the city of Key West. Not just a few or certain groups or anybody, I gave it back to the taxpayers. When I had the Harris School cafeteria, I had the good luck of meeting two wonderful Bahamian black women that worked for me. One was Barbara Sands, and the other was Iantha Brown. They were pillars in the black community.
Family.
And they were, and I gotta tell you, they taught me so much, and they taught me so much about Key West. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And Iantha was known for her famous Lily Dilly Pops, where she would give to the kids. And this is back in the 80s, man, and we just would go down to Fort Village and just have parties down there at nighttime and have souse. Some people might not know what that is, and all kind of things. We'd have a good time.
I don't eat souse, man.
Yeah.
My mom would eat it.
The old conchs.
Yeah, she's an old conch.
But I learned a lot about Key West, and I learned how Key West worked. And when you work in the jail and you own a bar, you know how people are and what they want. And you have to listen. That's the one thing I learned being a city commissioner, was to listen. I've looked back at it and I says, I learned to listen. Because if you listen, you can learn a lot.
How you feeling with this year's campaign? Are you feeling pretty confident?
I feel really confident. I got a great crew. I mean, I've been blessed to have a incredible crew. It had been a long time since I had run, probably since 2007, since I had to put a campaign crew together. And for the first month, it was a little bit, but I put a crew together, and I got to tell you, I got 30 some people with me we meet once a week, and we go over everything, and it's just I couldn't do it without them. I'll be honest with you. And I got a social director, I got a campaign manager, I got a legal advisor, I have a assistant that takes notes and everything. I got a research assistant that does an incredible job of researching everything. So, it goes from there, and I have other advisors, and it's working great, man. I gotta say.
Well, what do you think about like the pandemic and whatnot?
Well, the pandemic's definitely changed everything. I mean, I believe in wearing a mask, and wearing a mask is the right thing to do. But there is some times when you don't need to wear a mask, and that's if you're out running or exercising. And I don't exercise that much, as you can tell, but but if you're out and you're social distancing 6 or 7 feet from somebody, I really don't think you really need a mask. Okay? Or if you're swimming in a swimming pool, I think if you have a mask on, you might drown. But I believe in wearing a mask. Let's try to get this pandemic squared away. But you're not going to stop it, man. The cat's out of the bag. The only way that this is going to stop is with herd immunity or a vaccine. That's the way it's going to work. I've had people in my office get it. It's a terrible thing. But if you see, there's only 6 deaths in Monroe County. So I think it's a lot more hype than
6 deaths, and that's in the whole county, not just
county.
Not just Key West.
Yeah, that's the whole county. I mean, that's as of today, I think there was 975 people that have had the disease. And believe me, I'll tell your listeners and people that are watching the podcast, I'm married to a doctor. So my wife is very in tune to what's going on with the COVID, and we pay attention to it every night. And the most important thing is to wear a mask and wash your hands. And that's, and it's really decimated. I'm worried about it because Duval Street is bad. This is the summer season, and there's no business down there. What's going to happen in 2 weeks from now when you're in the middle of August and it's hurricane season, and the kids have been going back to school or they're back at home, and there's nobody around here? What's going to happen? I mean, like I said, I've been closed. I'm worried. And I own my properties down there. I've been a businessman on Duval Street for over 38 years. I've seen a lot of things, a lot of changes, and this is probably one of the most profound experiences I've ever seen or had to deal with, and it's not fun. We all knew that when the roadblock came down that the disease was going to come roaring in here, and it's exactly what happened. Okay? I wouldn't have shut the beaches down. I would have used the mounted patrol to go patrol the beaches and made sure people were social distancing. But if you can't get fresh air, I mean, come on, man, get some sunlight. Sunlight is the key to making your body healthy. I would have made sure the golf course was still open, not make a person in one golf cart. I would have clarified, make sure that there was groups and all this. But the outside is where fresh air helps the body.
I believe that too. Definitely, yeah. I think the sun is very important. That's why, like, when it's rainy like this, I'm like, damn, it's like the perfect storm just keeps hitting us.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't stop. Sunlight is vitamin C or D, and it's great. It really is.
Now, what do you think that we can do? Like, how can we go about opening up the businesses and whatnot?
Well, I think that what we're going to have to do is watch where this the COVID progresses and pay attention to it, respect social distancing. I mean, down at my operation, my people had masks on, and we tried to make sure people were social distancing, and just try to listen to what the CDC says, and
Do you think that the regulations and the fines that come along with the masks are warranted?
That's a good question. I think that the fines are not warranted. I don't think that jail time is warranted. I think if somebody's not paying attention and wearing a mask, give them a citation, take them into court. If the court's open, let them do community service. There's plenty of things out there in the community that can be done, painted, fixed, and do that. The answer is not monetarily. Nobody has any money right now. And then you're gonna stick people with a fine, or better yet, you're gonna throw them into jail where there's COVID all over the place. So,
With that being said, there's no money. People are not making money, and housing is another issue.
and I build affordable housing. I own affordable housing, and I make it perfectly clear: affordable housing or employee housing is something that's very important for the community. But there's a tremendous amount of public housing available. I think that it's now time for employers to pay for workforce housing. If I can do it, other employers can do it. You just have to know what you're doing. Put a pencil to the paper and do it. Not only do I have workforce housing, I have dormitory housing. And be straightforward with you, the people that are in my dormitory housing, I have not had one person move out of those units or the rooms there in years. Some of them have been in there for 10, 15 years.
Mark Rhino is one of my neighbors.
Mark, you
Yeah.
live over on
Yeah,
Patterson,
yeah.
and Mark will tell you, Mark's been living in that unit on Patterson for over 3 or 4 or 5 years now. He never gets bothered by me. I've never raised his rent, even though my windstorm has gone up and my flood insurance has gone up. I still keep it affordable, and I try to make sure that he's comfortable and the other tenants there are comfortable. So, you provide workforce housing. And Mark's a bus driver.
Yeah.
I'm fighting for the residents of this community, not the people who have theirs and made their money and bought $1 million homes. I'm fighting for the people in Newtown and down in the village, people that have to go to work. And sometimes some of these people got to work 2 to 3 jobs just to survive. You got kids, and the price of groceries have gone up, windstorms gone up, floods gone up. The last thing you need to do is have higher taxes and the whole deal. So that's what it's about.
So let's talk about the cruise ships.
Let's talk about the cruise ships. When I was on the commission, I was the liaison between the commission and cruise ships. I'm very familiar with cruise ships. I believe that cruise ships need to be regulated in a fair balance for everyone there. I believe that the cleaner the ship and the more environmentally sensitive the ship is, let's give them preferential treatment. But the other 2 issues of 1,500 people getting off a ship, and the other one is, I think it's both 1,500, and that's not right. You talk about one human family in Key West. Well, when you have one human family, you got to accept everybody. And what a lot of people don't know is with cruise ships, people come into Key West, they get a taste of Key West, and that's what brings the people back to Key West to stay here for 3 or 4 days and spend money. And they spend money in the hotels, they spend money on the water, they spend money with captains fishing, taxi cabs. It's all over. And that's the thing that people don't see. Everybody come in, oh, we don't want cruise ships, we don't want motorcycles guys here because they're bad. And what a lot of people don't know is, and if you watched the city commission budget meetings yesterday, the budget is $1.7 million short. Now there is another $400,000 short for the senior center, which we can talk about in a minute, okay? But now they're gonna raise your taxes 8%, 3% plus 5 more if they need to. Okay, this is just the beginning. Okay, without cruise ship revenues coming in, and cruise ship revenues offset the city police department, they offset the fire department, and they also go into Parks and Recreations, which is public works. And a lot of people don't understand that Jim Scholl, myself, and Mark Finnegan, who is a genius with the books, figured out that cruise ship revenues can only be used for disembarkation fees for certain things. One of them is police department, fire, and roads. And if you cut cruise ships, you're going to cut all this. You're looking at a loss in city services, and it's you got a lot of people that depend on cruise ships. It goes all the way through. Taxi cab drivers, they pick up the crew, they take them up to Ross, they take them to Winn-Dixie. The taxi cab driver makes money. The people that are working in Ross have jobs. They're getting paid from the things people are buying. The people on the water, it's a trickle down effect.
What's going on with the senior citizen?
Well, let's talk about that. You built a beautiful senior citizens apartment complex over on Duck Avenue, and I'm familiar with the senior citizens problem because I had a father who was my best friend, and who unfortunately he got dementia, and I had to unfortunately put him in a nursing home when it got so bad I couldn't take care of it myself. And I would go out to the Key West Rehabilitation Center next to the hospital every single day. Whether it was raining or whatever it was, I would go visit my father, especially around dinner time. So I got to see what that was all about. Well, we built a new senior center besides this one, and the residents that are there, they need those services. And they were the taxpayers here long before we were born. Okay? And a lot of the families are out there, and you got to take care of your seniors, man. If you don't take care of your senior citizens, you're not a good person, in my book. I'll be honest with you. These people worked and took care of us when we couldn't take care of ourselves. Now it's our turn to take care of them. And by doing that, I'm going to work with the county and work with the city. If I'm going to be a leader. I'm not going to be somebody who sits on the dice. I'm going to lead, follow, and get out of the way. And I'm going to lead. And being a leader means getting with Monroe County, working a deal to get the Bayshore Manor closed and moving those people over to Point Siena Plaza, okay, and taking care of our seniors. Let's talk about the kids. I'm a strong believer of keeping kids occupied. And kids need to get off their computers and off their cell phones, and they need to get out, and they need to be in the parks, and they need to be fresh air. They need to breathe fresh air. The junior football leagues, the softball leagues, the baseball leagues, that's where the city needs to be putting their money and taking care of those kids, all right? Boys and Girls Club, what a great organization. Okay, down at Douglas School of Basketball that the kids play down there. If you don't invest in your young people, what are we going to have here when we're older, okay? And the brain drain. You see these kids are always on their computers and there's no interpersonal skills. Kids need to be taught interpersonal skills. I can't tell you how, what makes me madder than hell is when an employee texts me and tells me that they're going to be leaving my employment on a text. You should be able to come and speak to somebody and say, hey, it's not working out for me, or I'm going to move on, or I have this issue and I have to leave. Don't send it to me in a text. And that's so impersonal, and that's what the world's going to. And we need to take care of our kids, because if you don't invest in your children, you're not going to have a future, period. And that's what my campaign says right there. Fighting for your future. And that means the future of the young people in this town so they can come back here, afford to live here, and afford to have good jobs.
So, as far as the future, it's like, we can't predict the future right now because we don't know where this is going. But what are some of the things that you would do differently immediately than the current?
Well, in my first 100 days, I'll make sure that the meetings start at 6 o'clock, not 5 o'clock, so the working man can go and see the meeting and watch it on TV. I'm going to make sure that the building department is cleaned up and people can go there and get building permits and have respect, because there is no respect in the building department right now. Okay, I'm going to make sure that the city is on a good and even course, and we're not going to waste taxpayers' dollars. I'm familiar with the budget. I sat through over 60 hours worth of budget hearings this June and July, and I'm very familiar with it. There's a lot of money that can be cut. I'm not going to say it here on the air because I don't want my other competition to pick up on it, but as a businessman of 38 years, I know where you can cut money. And it can be done. The answer is fiscal responsibility.
All right, so you say you had took like a 4-year hiatus from
Right.
politics. What were you doing in them 4 years?
running my business and being a businessman. You know what else I was doing? Building workforce housing. Okay, that's exactly what I was doing. Because I saw being on the dais that there was a lack of workforce housing for people in the community. And there's so much talk about it that, either shut up or do something. So I figured let's do something, and I saw a couple good real estate deals. I purchased them, went in and rehabbed them, and made beautiful units out of them for working class people. And, that's what I've been doing. And I didn't really want to run for office, to be honest with you. But the mayor had this idea that she wants to turn Duval Street into a mall. Well, you know what? I got 38 years of my life on Duval Street. I'm a street man. Okay? I know the street. And to try to turn Duval Street into something that's not, didn't sound good. I started going to the meetings, and they wouldn't listen to me. Here I am, an 11 and a half year city commissioner. Okay, Duval Street owner for 38 years. I didn't have a voice. They laughed at me. And they laughed at the other business people that were that would go to these meetings. And that's what really, excuse my French, pissed me off. Everybody has this vision and this and that, and they want to come down here and change everything. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Maybe a little fluff in the buff of Duval Street's what's needed. But to go in there and try to waste money, she wasted $275,000 on a mall in Duval that was stupid. Didn't even make sense. And we tried to tell them, but they wouldn't listen, and they just keep going down this path. They still want to do it. They still want to waste money on the Duval Street realization project. Okay, and renovation and revitalization, not realization, but rejuvenation is what I should say. But Murphy's Law says if it ain't fixed and it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Why would you be the best candidate out of the three?
Well, I'm going to tell you why I'm going to be the best candidate out of the three. Because I have accessibility, accountability, and leadership. And if that's what you're looking for to run a great city like the city of Key West, then vote for Mark Rossi. Because I'm accountable, I'm accessible, and I provide good, strong leadership. I know what has to be done. I'm not afraid to do the job that has to be done, and I'll do that job with no special interests or anybody. I'll listen to the people. Those are my bosses, the residents of the city of Key West.
Well, you have it. Mark Rossi.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on the show for sure. Very informative. I know you guys have gotten a lot of information out of this for sure. You should be able to make your own informative decision now. And Mark Rossi, once again, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Just vote for Mark Rossi on the 18th of August. I would really appreciate your vote. I won't let you down, I promise.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mark Rossi, for coming on the show today. I am DP. Mark, we're out.
Thank you.